There are folks who believe that if we recognize gay marriage as legitimate, then people will see heterosexual marriage as less important for child rearing. They believe that if people start to see that marriage is advantageous for non-procreative couples as well as procreative couples, then this will somehow lead to an undermining of the sanctity of marriage, which I suppose they suspect will lead to an increase in the number of children born out of wedlock.
If you change the public definition of marriage, for me and millions, I know a lot of people have already changed their definition of marriage, and that's why they can't even understand why there's any problem. But if you have this deep belief and rooted in human nature, right, that marriage is about bringing together male and female so children have mothers and fathers, same-sex marriage is just a fundamental denial of that reality.
If I see somebody using a hammer to crack a nut, or even lots of people using hammers to crack nuts, I'm not going to see hammers as any less useful for pounding nails. Maggie Gallagher seems to think that if we start to see nut cracking as a legitimate use for hammers, then this will constitute a denial of the idea that hammers are also useful for pounding nails. Why would anybody think that? Why would anybody think that since gays can get married, then heterosexual marriage must not be that important? It's not like gay marriage is causing divorce rates to go up. The opposite is happening. Gallagher acknowledges that divorce rates have gone down.
The divorce rate has actually declined in recent years, mostly since 1982 was the peak of the divorce rate, and it's declined mostly because growing numbers of people who would have been susceptible to divorce are just living together without marriage, having children, and the breakups of their families aren't being counted in our divorce rate.
Gallagher believes that there are fewer divorces nowadays, probably because couples who would be more susceptible to divorce are just not getting married in the first place. In other words, there are fewer divorces nowadays because more people understand that it's not a good idea to just jump into a marriage the moment somebody gets knocked up. People are increasingly coming to understand that this is not a good formula for a happy and lasting marriage. Would she prefer we go back to the days of shotgun weddings, when if a couple got pregnant, they were essentially forced to get married? People who get married nowadays generally want to get married because they are in love, not because they just happen to have kids with someone. I've heard opponents of gay marriage seriously say that marriage is not about love, it's about responsibility. Listen, if you really want more people to get married, I don't think that's the slogan you're gonna want to use. But this is what they're really afraid of. They believe that if people see gay couples getting married, then they'll get this crazy idea in their heads that marriage should be about love. And that is what they really oppose. The number of out-of-wedlock births has been increasing for the last 40 years. You can't blame gay marriage for that. If anything, the increasing acceptance of gay marriage nowadays is a consequence of the fact that people see marriage as being primarily about love, rather than the cause of that belief.